Hello, in this video I'm going to show you my XP farming build and why I think it's one of the best uh, builds you can use. So first off, I'm a Magicka Warden. I believe Warden has some of the best skills that work pretty much perfectly with XP grinding. And I'll show you why. So I'll go over the skills. First skill I'm using is Blue Betty. You restores 4,992 Magicka over 25 seconds and increases weapon and spell damage by 20%. And it also removes one negative effect every 5 seconds. So basically this move is amazing because not only does it help with sustain and grants you 20% more weapon damage, but it also removes snares, which is a big deal, especially when you're farming. You're going to get snared a lot, and it doesn't cost any resources, as you can see, so it means you can keep spamming it, and so it allows you to never get snared. Basically, it's an anti-snare, and it's amazing. And it also works well with your animal companion passives. Let's see. So, for example, anytime this ability ends, or any animal companion abilities, which I have two of, this one and this one, whenever they end, you get 1,260 health. Let's see. Whenever you cast an animal companion ability while in combat, you generate 4 ultimate. This happens every 8 seconds, so you get ultimate for casting these abilities. Increase your Magicka and stamina recovery by 12% if an animal companion ability is slotted, which I have 2 of. So I'm assuming it's total I'm getting is 12%. I'm not sure exactly. Increase your damage done by 2% for each animal companion slotted, which an animal companion ability slot is, which I have 2 of, so that I have a total of 4% more damage, which is amazing. So these passives work really well with your animal companion skills. It's amazing. So I recommend getting all of these passives. So okay, so moving on to the next skill, Winter's Revenge. This is an AoE ability. Pretty much any damage dealing skill I have on this bar is going to be AoE, because AoE abilities work great with killing multiple enemies at once, and since you're farming XP, you're going to pretty much be fighting multiple enemies at once at all time. So it says deals frost damage 2,398 frost damage every 1 second for 12 seconds. Really good. Enemies hit with this ability, our movement speed is reduced by 30% for 3 seconds, and it also has a higher chance to apply chilled status effect, which is good as well. This ability is one of my favorite. It does both AoE damage and it also heals you a big amount of health. You get a lot of health from this. It's an amazing skill. So you instantly heal 4,922 health, and in addition 615 health every 1 second over 5 seconds. 1 second. they also deal 1,742 frost damage every 1 second to nearby enemies. Enemies hit with this skill, it only affects 3 enemies at a time, and they are stunned for 4 seconds when they're hit by this skill. And let's see, it scales off of your max health. So the healing scales off your max health for this ability, but you still get a huge chunk. So the first health you get is a huge amount. It's 4,922, and then the rest isn't that much because it's scaling off your max health. And so I don't have a lot of health in my character. I don't have any put into health, so it's not going to be a lot after that. But it's still enough to keep you alive, from my experience. Next skill is called Stone Pulsar. This is a destruction staff skill, which is here. I recommend putting all points into your destruction staff skill line. And then the last skill is called Bird of Prey. This is my skill I like to use because it allows me to move around. It allows you to move from one point to the next very quickly, and basically the faster you can get from point A to point B, the more XP you're going to get per overall, basically, which means you'll be able to level up quicker if you can move around quicker. So it's a very good skill to have. You'll be using this really often, and it also gives you a 5% damage boost on top of that, which is very nice. My ultimate is a very strong ability. I don't use this that often because I don't need it, but it's nice for clearing out enemies really quickly. It does a lot of damage on top of the AoEs that you're already using. It just wipes them out really quickly, and it can get you out of some difficult situations, definitely. So that's my primary bar. This is the bar you'll be using majority of the time. My back bar I rarely use, but I still sometimes end up using it because the skills that are in my back bar are primarily for single targets. So I'll go over these skills now. So the first skill on my back bar is Deep Fissure. Deals 13,764 Magicka to enemies in front of you. So I think it hits multiple enemies in the area that they hit. These hit, which is huge. That's huge. 13,700 Magicka damage is huge. Enemies. So then enemies hit with this, their physical and spell resistance is reduced by 5,948 for 6 seconds. That's a lot. And then my second ability is called Growing Swarm. I like this. I chose the stamina version because I like the fact that it allows it affects more than one target, unlike the Magicka variant of this. And so it's almost like an AoE type AoE slash damage over time skill. I like it a lot. It works really nicely. It gives 8,430 bleeding damage over 10 seconds. Nice. Increases enemy damage taken by 5%. And in enemies near the carrier, the enemy who's the carrier would be the primary target that was hit by this ability, take 863 bleed damage every 2 seconds. And that's what I meant by it being almost like an AoE, because it spreads to other targets. The other targets it spreads to aren't hit as badly, but it still does damage, which is nice. This ability is also nice. It's a single target skill, but it does a lot of damage. It's called Screaming Cliff Racer. It does 9,847 Magicka damage. It sets the targets off balance if you're 7 meters, if you're more than 7 meters away from the target, and it deals up to 15% more damage based on how far away the enemy is. So these are nice skills. These we already went over. This is this ultimate I didn't mean to put on the bar. I've been meaning to replace it with this, which is on my primary bar. Or yeah, or you could add this if you want. It's a nice healing ultimate. It's up to you. I don't really need this, but you choose what you want in regards to that. The animal ultimate is pretty much useless because once you flip over to your primary bar after activating this ability, the animal disappears. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if you summon the bear, and then you swap over back to your primary bar, the bear will disappear. So it's pretty much useless to have if you're not going to have the bear on both bars. So let's move on. I want to go over my other passive abilities that I'm using. So I've already went over these passives. Let's go over. I did not put anything into green balance. These aren't useful for the build in my opinion. Let's go over here. I put everything into these Winter's Embrace passives. I put everything into light armor passive since I'm a Magicka. Light armor is pretty much for Magicka builds. Nothing into heavy or medium. And you want to put everything into your racial passives. The nice thing, I think High Elf works really well with this build because this racial passive called Highborn increases experience gain with the Destruction Staff skill lines by 15%. On my main bar, I'm using a Destruction Staff, and the Destruction Staff ability that I'm using is Pulsar. And this ability is basically an ability that you'll be spamming. It's an AoE ability, but that's your main spamming AoE. And this is what you'll be mainly killing enemies with majority of the time. So that works really well with this racial passive here, which is increase your experience with Destruction Staff skill line. So it's amazing. It's 15% extra on top of the XP that you're already gaining from the gear, which I'll be going over soon. The next passive I think is pretty decent. I think all of the racial passives for High Elf are really, really nice. This one helps with your stamina sustain, because it basically provides either Magicka or stamina based on which is the lowest. So since my stamina is lowest, it's going to give me stamina back every 6 seconds whenever I activate an ability. And also it says when you're using an ability with a channel or cast time, you take 5% less damage, so that's another nice bonus to this. You get 2,000 Magicka. That is amazing. That's a lot of Magicka. That's going to increase your damage done. And on top of that, you get more 258 weapon and spell damage, which is amazing. So yeah, I really recommend picking High Elf, but you don't have to pick High Elf. Breton's also good, or Dark Elf, I believe, is good too. Yeah, those three races are good, but I'd say High Elf if you can, but if not, just pick Breton or Dark Elf. Alright, so I put everything into Magicka, just because it's gonna give you the most amount of damage possible. I'll go over the gear. gear, I believe a lot of this, if not all of the gear that I have now, was inspired by the content creator Alcast. I think some of the gear I might have put in just because I didn't have everything that he was recommending. But I'll go over it anyways. And not everything is set in stone. Like, you don't have to use everything that I have equipped. But I do recommend some of it. For example, the Julianos. I have 5-piece Julianos, all training, and I have shoulder is trainee, head is helm is also trainee, so 2-piece of trainee. And my jewelry is willpower, and my primary staff is a lightning staff. My backbar is a healing staff. You can choose. You don't have to go healing. You can go another destruction staff, but I recommend healing just because it allows you to at least have a chance to level up your restoration staff abilities. So I kind of recommend having a healing staff on the back bar so that you can slowly but surely level up these abilities, because they might come in handy later on. The reason why I chose lightning staff is simply because of this passive here, which basically it turns the lightning staff into an AoE almost, or a multi-target. It's amazing. So lightning staff, heavy attacks, damage nearby enemies for 100 of the damage. So you're hitting multiple enemies that are bunched together whenever you use a heavy attack with a lightning. Absolutely amazing. It almost acts as an AoE. And the lightning staff heavy attacks are very nice because you don't have to, like, for example, with a fire staff and an ice staff, there's no, I can't explain it, but you have to do this. In order to hit an enemy, you have to always kind of press, or you have to wind up. It's like a single target hit, whereas the lightning staff, you can press down on and hold it, and you don't have to really worry about whether or not you're close enough to the target. It will, like, for example, I'll show you one more time. So for example, like, you kind of have to know what distance you are from the target if you have a fire staff or ice staff. But with lightning, you can just do this. Oh, and it automatically locks onto the character when you're at the perfect distance. That helps a lot with XP farming. You'll see when you do it. So that's why I chose lightning. It has a AoE type of a passive ability, and you don't have to worry, like, work as hard to pull the enemies when you're pulling them, trying to get aggro. So yeah, so that's why I chose it. I highly recommend using a lightning staff for XP farming. But again, it's your choice, but I highly recommend that. Now, when you're using training gear, all the gear that is training gear, that has a training trait, make sure it's no less than purple. You don't have to make it gold because that's a lot of resources, but try your best to make it at most purple, because you get the most almost max percentage of XP or training experience from purple. So I really recommend getting your gear to purple. Let's see, next I'm going to, let's see, I'll demonstrate the build and what it's like and how to use it. And this is why blue Betty comes in handy. Watch this right now, I'll show you. Well, see how I was snared? When you activate the Blue Betty, it automatically removes those snares, so now my character can move freely without being snared and slowed down. Now, once I cleared out that section, I activate my Bird of Prey skill, and I get very quickly on to the next enemy mobs and start this again. Activate Ready, go down my AoEs, spam, and that's it. And rinse and repeat. I usually activate Blue Betty after again. I activate Bird of Prey, move on to the next section, rinse and repeat. It's that simple, and this is why I believe that the Magicka Warden class is the best. Well, the Warden class is the best class to use for farming XP. It's just my opinion. Hope you got something out of this video, and I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.